So this morning we had a session with public institutions and a session with very big players in the space sector. But we also have smaller companies in the sector and smaller that are not that small any longer. So I think we have a quite good representation here of different stages in the sector, from a still a startup, I would say.
I would say so.
And some other companies that I think they are not a startup any longer. So I would like you to present yourself. You are going to do it much better than me. And to let the people know where are you now and where do you come from.
Okay. Well, Francho Garcia from Arcadia Space, co-founder and one of the CEOs. At Arcadia, what we do is propulsion engines for satellites. So they have to, all satellites have to move around space to provide their service. And for that, they need the engines. In our case, what we are trying to do is to substitute the fuel that has been used in the last 50 years, which is hydrogen, for a more green one. And in this case, it's hydrogen peroxide. And in this way, we have two objectives. First, to be much more sustainable, but the most important one for companies is to be much more affordable for the new space economy. We come from another very big company right now, PLD Space, where we were the ones developing the propulsion systems. And with that background, we moved to more in-orbit domain, and now we do smaller engines for satellites.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Javier Santos. I'm with Geosat. Geosat is an Earth observation satellite operator. We purchase Earth observation satellites, and then we take images of the world, and we provide these images to different customers. It's amazing how many different applications are currently using satellite data. When you think about satellite pictures, you think about Google Maps, right? Or looking at it, but there's actually a lot of services that run on Earth observation data, which we're not sure about, which we're not aware about. We're talking about, for example, security. We're talking about infrastructure monitoring, vegetation monitoring, global climate change monitoring. There's a lot of things going on. So Geosat is contributing to that.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Simone Centuori. I'm the CEO of Deimos. Deimos is a company born in 2001 from a group of 23 engineers. One is among us this morning, one of the founders of Deimos. And the company has grown a lot in these 23 years now already. And we are small sat integrators. From an end-to-end perspective, Deimos launched its first satellite in 2009. So Deimos 1 was the first European private spacecraft launched. And now we are moving towards the integration of small missions, so ranging from CubeSat up to a few hundred kilograms, and providing the full mission design, the exploitation from ground segment point of view, from the flight segment point of view. But the company is not only space. We also have a technological branch which is very active in other domains like aeronautic and maritime, transportation. And from 23 people, we are now 500 people deployed in 5 countries. So this is, I think, a success story of a company which started as a startup and now is in a different domain.
Piotr.
Welcome everyone, Piotr Sybilski, Sybilla Technologies. When you think about our company, you should think about the space traffic management and knowing what happens in space. We support the space exploration and people who want to put their satellites or people in orbit, and then they would like to make them safe and to navigate safely and to reach their destination safely. So we start with the mixing concrete in Australia to build a system observing what happens in space, understanding on what we see in the pictures and understanding what happens there, ending up with the catalog and the services supporting the space, safe space operations. Thank you.
Thanks. Simone, you talk about the evolution of Deimos a long time. Could you discuss a bit more on how the market has changed and how these changes in the market in these 23 years for you, but I will make the same question for the others, how these changes in the market have forced you to change, or how have you adapted your business model, your company to the new market?
Yes. I mean, being in this market for almost 20 years can give you a visibility of the big change that happened. Because just a few years ago, the market was basically fully based on public subvention. And so we were dealing with a business model which was fully funded from ESA and the European Commission mainly, through different channels. And in the recent years, we have seen a big evolution in this, and now there is a market. I think this is a market which is not fully mature yet, because I think that we still need to connect the market with the final user completely, but we are moving in the right direction. And this is already bringing a big change for the space companies, because now we don't have just to provide proposals and studies to ESA, we need to provide products to customers. And this is a new challenge. It's a big change in our mindset, especially for those of us who have gone through difficult years of few activities, and now there is this big volume of potential opportunities which forces us to do things better.
Thanks, Piotr. Have you also seen this change from the institutional to the private market?
Yes, so it's visible everywhere, I think in every domain of the space. In our particular domain, we also see a strong shift from projects, particular one and different project and one more, to products. So we have we can have a repeat in sales in what we do, and we finally can create some products which are on the market for a long term, invest in them and sell them. As we are moving in the direction of the space traffic management, which is quite common in the air traffic management, so this is a completely new domain, and yes, it will grow for many years, and it will be not stable, I think, for any predictable future. And in terms of it growing, we see different scenarios. It can grow fast or very fast or exponential. So it's very exciting, and we have to adapt to it. And I'm pretty sure every 2 years we will see a significant changes. And what started now, it is going to continue for a foreseeable future.
Thanks. Javier, do you have the same feeling of this fast or faster scenario?
Well, I'm gonna give a downstream perspective, because I think we're only downstream company. So we're really not, we don't manufacture things to put into space, or we provide services in space. We provide services to customers here on Earth based on space technology. What we've observed throughout the years is, yes, there has been a transition from government, mainly government contracts, to more commercial use of space. I think there's still a lot to be matured, as Simone said. And I think one of the things that has been changing is the cost to put something into space, both in terms of launching costs, services costs, but also in terms of technology cost. What this is doing is it's enabling new use cases for commercial customers that previously were not feasible economically. So we're finding a lot of cases of companies. We're talking about energy companies, mining companies, road construction companies, which traditionally have thought that getting satellite images was super expensive and would not close their business case. Now we're finding that the cost of the satellite image is dropping, and these new use cases are starting to work out. So this is enabling a new market, which is going to take a bit of time to adopt, because in the end, first, most of these companies do not have experts in Earth observation, so there is a component of education. And second, it's not that easy to close the business case, so we have to be very creative in how to close that business case. But we are finding that there are a lot of opportunities, and that's leading to a lot of growth beyond the traditional market sponsored by ESA or by governments.
Francho, still a short time for you to history, I guess. It's shorter than the others, but you also have this feeling of changing market.
So when I started in the space business, which is not so short ago, it was 2016. And in Spain, for example, we had one of the biggest, worst moments ever. They cut a lot the budget for space activities, and it was a drama in Spain. I mean, there was a lot of people signing in and saying, please, you're going to stop a lot of years of development, and you're going to put us in a very worse situation compared to other countries. So this is when I started. So it was like a big drama. Now I see exactly the opposite. So a lot of people investing in space, from private industries, from public institutions. Now it's the European Commission pushing for commercial. It's the European Space Agency pushing for commercial. So me personally, since I started, I see a huge change. When I started, when I was in Airbus, there were no startups. There was literally no startups. Then it was PLD and some others that I started, and now, I mean, every month or maybe a couple of months, you will see another startup starting just in Spain. And I cannot imagine what is happening in other places of Europe. So definitely for me, and I'm me that I'm a personal believer of space, I cannot be happier to see this big change from 10 years ago till now.
Yeah, thanks. I think for the field of startups, it's difficult to rise to start a startup, but probably the most difficult part is to scale up and maintain. And I think we have here 3 examples, and hopefully you will be soon one of those that you have already demonstrated this capability. And I have the feeling that funding this scale up is quite complex and is a mix in between projects that give you funding or funding that comes from external sources and investing in the technology that is going to be the future technology for you. So how do you balance in your company, maybe Javier, you start, how do you balance this project with a soon revenue, fast revenue, and investing in the future?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have some traditional cows we're milking, right, which give us the food for every day. And then there's a component of, let's say, more adventurous of what if we go into this new market? As I said, in our case, a lot of our customers are not experienced with Earth observation. There's an education component, and with it, a risk component. You know, we don't know. Many times we don't know if we're going to be able to solve their business case with space. So we do have like our anchor customers, and this is very typical in the Earth observation market. Usually it's governmental customers because they have traditionally been using Earth observation, they're experienced with it, they have defined budgets, and usually these budgets are large. So we use this to push us into these new markets and then explore these new markets. Yeah.
Yes, this answer is the holy grail of making money in the sector, but I think we are living a moment which is very similar to what happened in Silicon Valley in the 80s. So you have a lot of good examples. Yeah, not bad at all. But I think especially when you scale up, it's important that you manage to find a balance between your scaling up and your original roots, because you need to scale up and you need to try to access big volumes because this gives stability to your company. But when you scale up, then you can forget the small niche where you started from, because this is maybe when you have a project of 10 millions and you will say, okay, this is just 100K, this is not important anymore. But that would be a big mistake. Because if that is the root of your company, that is the innovation company, part of your company, you need to keep it. First, because it's what people like to do as engineers, and also because this is a differential factor with respect to the rest of the market. And if you leave a niche, somebody else will occupy that niche. So it's a kind of balance of preserving your starting point and scaling up towards the new markets.
Do you share that?
Yeah, I agree completely. The idea is to say no to the right projects, right contracts, and this is very difficult. When you are a startup, you are getting whatever is possible, and then you have to say no to some of the people.
Not only when you are a startup.
Yeah, later of course, but the startup is when you start and you don't have a growing market, not so many opportunities, it's easy, you fight for everything. But now it's a completely different time, very difficult, and if you make a wrong decision, you will skip the opportunity which you said was probably strategic for you. So keeping strategic focus of the company, and when you do the scaling up, you shouldn't miss the step. We call it pilot it, nail it, scale it. If you miss one of the steps, or you go to scaling too fast or too late, you will miss the optimal velocity, and someone can overtake you. And this is also extremely important right now as the market condition changed. With multiple startups coming up and a lot of funding available, if you don't scale up quick enough, you will stay behind. So I would say no to the things you shouldn't do. Change your organization as the market and your maturity of the products changes, and keep your people focused on the priorities. Thank you.
That's 3 good advice, difficult to follow sometimes. Big opportunities. In your particular case, Piotr, maybe you can start. You are focused on STM, SST, sustainability of space activities, which are the biggest opportunities for the next 5-10 years, and same for the others in your fields.
So we started growing in Poland, and we kind of saturated the market recently. So it's next step, European Union, and then the world. So scaling up is going outside from the market where you succeeded and going further and further. And this requires some of the changes. But also, I would say you need to keep up with the scaling up with the needs of the market. And in our case, it's space traffic management, which has 2 parts. One is commercial, and the second one is government, public administration, civil use. And the great opportunity is that the European Union sees that, and they decided to divide and say, okay, half of the data, half of the information we get from the commercial, and half from public services. For us, it's a very strategic information saying that, in fact, we are doing both. We are building the systems, we are operators, and we train people, we provide them tools for the public operators, but we are also doing this on our systems, our sensors. So this is like strategic direction, European Union, and following with the United States. So these are the biggest markets, with the world as a third step for us. Thank you.
Simone, your main focus, or which is the biggest opportunity for Deimos at this moment?
What we have as a mission in the company is to improve human life conditions through space. So we like to do this in 2 main directions. One is sustainability in space and on the planet, and the other one is exploration. We like to expand frontiers, as you know our motto says. And we are providing this through end-to-end small mission provision. Okay, so the idea is to offer services to humanity through new technological capabilities in orbit. So to improve sustainability in space, we have a lot of activities in the field of active debris removal, in the space debris area, surveillance of space debris, and then removal of debris, and reusability of satellites and launchers. And then also through Earth exploration missions to provide service to humanity, disaster management, data for the scientists to improve climate change models, and so on. And then, of course, our DNA is exploration. We like to push the frontiers. We have participated in missions to all the solar system bodies that have been reached so far, so to Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, asteroids, and so on. And now we do this through these end-to-end small mission capabilities that we have developed through 20 years of activities. So this is our main line at the moment.
Quite wide main lines, indeed. For you?
If we look at where the revenue is coming from for Earth observation, we have the traditional revenue, which is government, defense, security, Copernicus programs, and then some programs in the US also. There could be some differences from year to year, but it's basically a static government, which we need to capture, of course, be part of it. But where we're seeing real growth is in the commercial side of the Earth observation. And I think some people predicted that the growth of the commercial Earth observation segment was going to be huge. It's taking a little bit longer, and the reason is because you need to educate these customers and show them the value. And that's a key question. We need to show value for what we're doing, okay? That's one of the growth areas where we're seeing right now, and we're effectively, we have some use cases where we've effectively shown value to some companies which are now paying for Earth observation data. I want to transmit a message to all to the upstream side, which is, in the end, our customers are your customers, okay? So if we are not able to add value to these customers, we will not be buying satellites and buying systems from you guys. So we need to make sure that we are able to show value on Earth by using space systems. Space systems is not the goal. It's beautiful to be able to launch something into space. But in the end, if you want to make it profitable, you need to show value to customers on Earth. And that's what we're focusing on right now.
I will come back to that topic right now. But first, Francho, could you also mention about which do you think is the big opportunity in the near future for you, for Arcadia?
Similar to what Simone was saying, sustainability. So in our case, we have a very big opportunity. As I mentioned before, traditional engines, chemical engines, have been using hydrazine. It's toxic, it's carcinogenic, and it's banned by the European Commission because of this peligrosity. So until now, there was no alternative. So industry has been doing a lot of lobby to keep using hydrazine. What we want to do is to really change the paradigm of propulsion by now using green fuels, providing the same performance as traditional engines, but with these sustainable green fuels. So it's a big opportunity because we may change the entire industry of propulsion, but at the same time it's very complex because we need to convince an industry that has been using engines for 50 years same way. And now we're going to be, hey, let's going to use our engines. So it's going to be a tough thing, but if we succeed, super achievement.
Yeah, thanks. I also share this need of pushing the sustainability of space activities. Coming back to your message, Javier, the success of your business is the success of the others. So that reminds me the need of collaboration in between the different entities in a space sector. In the former session, we were discussing the point of view of the very big companies on how they collaborate with the smaller ones. We talked at that time about the startups, but also with your size, middle-sized companies. How do you see this collaboration? Maybe as you started this message of interrelationships, Javier, how is this collaboration with the biggest, and also if it exists with the smallest, with the startups?
Yeah. I think in any technological field, it's important, but especially in space, it's critical to have value innovation, not just technology innovation, because you can create a great technology that may not be useful for anything, you know? So it's important to have the feedback of the market in the process of developing your technology. Okay, so I'm thinking, for example, we have some customers which want maybe to cover a border because of security, right? What are we going to need to cover a border? We're going to need satellites that are able to maneuver in real time and acquire in real time with a great agility. With this, what I mean is, okay, we're going to need this type of reaction wheel. So if we are able to create a clear communication path between the market and the manufacturers so that the innovation is a cycle and not just, I've got this great idea, I'm going to put it into the market, and then we buy the satellites and we say, okay, this is what's available. No, let's get that information first to our manufacturers and then feed that into the products that we're going to need in the market.
Market pool or technology pools?
Yeah.
Good, difficult question. So, Simone, your experience in this collaboration with the biggers and maybe a smaller, which is your relationship with the startups?
I think we need to change our point of view because the market has changed. So now we don't have anymore a market with few resources. It's a bigger market. And so I think we need to have another point in this relation, which is society. Okay, we are moving towards a win-win solution, and this is very good in space. But probably we need to change our mindset to win-win-win. So we need to include society in this, because there we create an additional value But it's not only the market or technological value, but it's the value for society. If we have this mindset, then the kind of collaboration we can establish is different, because we have a different goal, okay? And this is now possible because of the market size. Before it was not possible. The resources were just too scarce to be shared, but now we can do that. With different sizes, with different competitors. In the end, what are we afraid of? To be imitated, this is good. It means that we are doing things right. So we need, I think, a bit of a shift in this mindset to establish this kind of collaboration, because we are occupying different market areas, and so there is the room for collaboration.
I think you can maybe share your experience collaborating with some now big startups, right?
Yes, now, I mean, we started as a startup, and now we are in a good position because we invest in other startups, because we have a different size. For example, we are shareholders of Orbex, which is a startup in the UK working on small launchers domain. And this is the kind of experience which I think it's a good inspiration for everybody. At the same time, we are working intensively with Airbus, Thales, OHB, because we are still web providers in many critical systems like Gen C.
Let me make time for advertisement. We will have Orbex later on, so that's
Okay.
good. Piotr, your experience collaborating with other big and smaller.
I would say the collaboration is always an opportunity, no matter if it's a big or small company, but they act differently. They have different resources, they have different constraints, but they are all needed. And we see especially big corporations as trailblazers for a very large cosmic projects. It will be not possible without them maybe to go to the moon, to build the orbital infrastructure maybe for the solar power. So this is not possible for the SMEs to achieve. But while they're going for the large projects, they are creating much more space for SMEs to be a supply chain or come with the new ideas to use the new opportunities they create. So this is a big opportunity, and especially in the growing market, it's a win-win. I agree.
Good, Francho, your experience.
So in our experience, I believe that it's super important that we collaborate with companies. In our case, being a subsystem provider, we must, because we need to be integrated into something else. But at the same time, to work with big companies or established companies, it gives you more professionalism, more systematic way of doing things. In a startup, you know, there is a big chaos when you are doing things. In this way, we go way faster than traditional or established companies, but at the same time, you risk, no, in the developments. So collaborating with big companies that have a much more established process can help you learn a lot and develop these practices internally. So for us, it's mandatory.
Okay, good. And we have only 1 minute. I will ask you 10 seconds for which is the challenge, the biggest challenge that you find now, and how do you prepare for that?
Space traffic jams. And when you come here, you see some of them, but in space they are coming and they will be growing.
People. It's very difficult to hire people to grow, and I think we need to expand our view to let people from other domains to access the space domain, because with internal resources, it's just impossible to do everything we want to do.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's creating the right business cases. That's what I think is going to be the challenge for us in the future years.
I was going to say people, but I'm going to be a little bit more creative. Geopolitical situation. I don't know how it's going to be in the next years. ESA, European Commission, countries becoming more individual and less collaborative. So I don't know if that is going to be in the future a challenge.